The latest Pompey news, updates every day from the Pompey Sound news desk.
Rich Hughes is talking about Alli. Millie's impact has been really good, and we are really pleased with it. Not everything should be judged as what it's addressed as. He's a player coming from League One, because he performed well in the Championship, and, through various circumstances at his parent club, found himself slightly out of favour. I think that's to our fortune at the minute. Luton still really like the player and know he can perform in the Championship, but, ultimately, should a set of scenarios happen, we'd be really keen to keep him here. He has done really well for us, we've really enjoyed having him, he has taken to the group, he's taken to the area. Most of all, he's starting to affect games on the pitch, so, if there's an opportunity to sign him, it's absolutely something we would look to explore. Everyone is always striving for the really consistent wingers, but they tend to navigate their way to the absolute top end of the game. We have been really pleased with Millie's output. I thought he was excellent again on Saturday, especially on a really tricky track at Preston. We're pleased with how Millie has been so far and his impact, while I think he has already endeared himself to the fans. He's pacey, he's direct, he can play the game 1v1, Hughes added. If you look at what Millie did at Luton, he was one of their best players and had a real influence on them nearly stopping up towards the back end of the season. He was a player we were tracking at Exeter, and had been accurately aware of him coming up through the non-leagues. We felt he fitted the profile of a player we were looking for. He's pacey, he's direct, he can play the game 1v1, he can stretch the pitch, he has that unique ability similar to Josh Murphy with the pace to run past you, but also, if you drop off, he can deliver a good ball like the Sheffield Wednesday goal. I don't think it's one to give ourselves too much praise for recruiting him, it's actually taking it on a case-by-case scenario of knowing that there's a player who has performed in the Championship. Plus it's probably due to a few connections I have at Luton and being able to get the inside track on why he wasn't the style of winger they wanted to proceed with. I think it was a good decision to take it early and be able to bring him in. The Championship could be headed for a huge upheaval, with the playoffs shaken up from next season. Pompey boss John Messineo is anti-expanding the playoffs, with EFL clubs set to vote on changes to the format. The EFL clubs are to vote on a massive change, which would see sides who finish 3rd to 8th have their campaign extended. That would mean the 5th place team playing the 8th place team, and 6th taking on 7th, in a one-off eliminator round. They would then progress to two-legged semi-finals against those who finished 3rd and 4th. The move was approved at an EFL board meeting last week, and would be first introduced in the Championship next season, then subsequently implemented in League One and League Two if successful. EFL members are now set to vote on the new format on March 5th, with a simple majority from its 72 members required to make it a reality. Messineo said, "I quite like the format as it is, I'd keep it like that. There's always that argument between the 6th place team and the 3rd place team. There's always a big points gap there. There's always a bit of needle around that. There was last in the National League, with York City I think. Everybody will know what the situation is before the season, and everyone should accept that. But I think 6th is a good cut-off. I haven't properly thought about it, but if you start having that disparity between 3rd and 8th, it can be too big." The Blues have failed to win any of the 8 playoff games they've taken part in, but Messineo believes they keep the season alive for teams, doing so perfectly in its current guise. He added, "If that's the state of play, 8th doesn't finish in the playoffs, and that's the parameters before the season starts, then it's absolutely fine. You just go with it. I've been involved in the game now for more than 20 years and I think the addition of the playoffs to the Football League are brilliant. It creates a lot of excitement at the back end of the season, it creates a lot of excitement and jeopardy for the sides anywhere between 4th and 10th at the back end of the season. Everything is really tight, and there's now a distinct group, say in the Championship, who aren't going to make the playoffs. But apart from that, probably from Sheffield United upwards, every side probably thinks they can nick a spot in there if they go on a decent run. So I think it works pretty well as it is, that's why I'd be loath to change it."
Well, we haven't thought about it very much either, like John Messineo, partly because we've kind of only just woken up to the fact that this is a possibility. John Messineo sits on the fence beautifully, and yet at the same time appears to have a clear and distinct opinion, but he's not going to make any enemies, whichever way it goes. He says that he thinks it's fine as it is, but at the same time it's very exciting, and that it is, if it does end up involving the top 8 sides in the Championship when the season is over, then he will go for it and give it his blessing and his best shot. So that's all very good politics and diplomacy by John Messino. I suppose the first thought that jumps into a lot of people's minds is that with so many injuries affecting so many professional footballers, increasingly so, and one of the possible culprits for this is that they're playing so many games in such an intense way, the EFL are poised to increase the number of games that some people will be playing enormously at the end of the season, and they'll be going on their summer holidays even more knackered, if I can put it like that, than they might have been. Those clubs that finish 7th and 8th and so forth will be playing, if they get through, they will be playing an extra, is that 4 or 5? I don't know. I'm still confused about the format that's being proposed, but an extra 4 or 5 games at the end of a long season. So there's that to consider, I think. But I think John Messino is right. It's exciting. They do something similar in Scotland in their top tier. I think the top 6 sides go into the top half, I think, of the Scottish Division 1 effectively. The top half are involved in the Championship playoffs, and all of the bottom half of the league are involved in relegation playoffs, which it must be extremely nail-biting for all concerned. But as John Messino says, it adds further excitement to the game, and we like the game to be exciting. So we'll have to wait until March the 5th, before we get the result of that vote.
Callum Lang has bared all about his on-off on-again transfer, his emotions and Pompey. First, that transfer.
I drove down on Friday to my home in Liverpool, kind of expecting the deal to be done on Friday, and then things are never easy. It dragged on a few days, and Monday, I probably thought I was going to be driving back to Portsmouth. Then it was on and off a few times, but to get it done in the end, I was happy and just looking forward to it now. Deadline day is always a stressful time. It was a late one, but we got it done. Yeah, I really enjoyed my time at the club. I probably didn't play as many games as I would have liked to, or should have through an injury. But every time I played at Fratton Park and played for the club, I like to think I left everything on the pitch and gave everything for the shirt. So yeah, I had some really good times, and now I just want to build on that with Preston. Yeah, I think my first hamstring injury was a pretty bad one, and when you get your first injury you think you probably don't need the surgery and stuff like that, said Lang. So I pushed through it, rushed back because I wanted to help Portsmouth stay in the league with the position that we were in. I really wanted to rush back and help the team as much as possible, and, looking back at that, it was probably the wrong decision. Obviously the gaffer was someone who trusted me to perform for the team, so whenever I had the green light I was straight in and playing a lot of minutes. So it probably was a bit too much too soon, and that's why I'm being managed. It's probably the physios and the staff holding me back a tiny bit to look after me, but yeah, when I get the green light to go and play and I'm on the pitch, I give everything. Yeah, I think that's something I've done all through my career. I probably get involved in the game and carried away a lot, whether it's the referee or the fans. I do play the game with a lot of emotion, but I think that's the right way to play, and that's something I'll probably never change. So yeah, I think that's what the gaffer wants to see from me, and I'll make sure I do that. Everywhere I've played in my career, if you give everything for the shirt the fans will never have bad things to say really, then the other stuff will take care of itself. Yeah, I think last season in the Championship I had to really prove myself, said Lang. I was last in the Championship before with Wigan. It was quite a stressful season, a lot going on away from the football pitch for the club, so it was a tough environment, and coming back, I know I had to be fit and ready to perform and show everyone, because I know I can perform at this level. So it was quite frustrating, but to prove what I can do was nice, and I think I still haven't proven everything I can do at this level. I want to push on a lot more, and I'm excited to do that here. Yeah, it's always a footballing decision that comes first throughout my career, but to be back north and have family coming to my games, spending a lot more time with them, it's nice away from the pitch. I think that helps me perform best when I've got the people who I love around me, so that'll be nice to have them at my games, and I think that'll really push me on. I enjoyed my time down south a lot, but I felt like it was the right time to change club and change location, so yeah, excited to get started.
As Pompey fans, our thoughts about Callum Lang will recede fairly quickly. They always do when players leave. But at the moment, they're not galloping over the horizon, partly because he hasn't made his debut yet for Preston. And when he does, if it is Watford, then we'll have to hope that he doesn't score a hat-trick, and we'll feel beleaguered by the fact that we are £2 million better off as a club, but we still aren't scoring enough goals whereas he can and does. That said, it must have been a nightmare for him. He's clearly an emotional man. His talk about how he plays better if his family are around him, watching him play. And we now know that he kept his home in Liverpool. Wherever he plays, he prefers the northeast, and he likes to live in his home city of Liverpool. And Liverpudlians, Scousers, are mostly wonderfully nostalgic, sentimental, and very loyal to their city. I remember a joke I heard a semi-comedian say, that he found himself in Liverpool one night, went to a pub and there was a pub quiz. So he entered it, and because he didn't understand, he simply wrote Stephen Gerrard or the Beatles as an answer to every question, and apparently he came second. That's how much they love their city, and there's a lot to be said for that. So farewell, Callum Lang. Apparently it got even nastier than we'll ever know. Allegedly got even nastier than we'll ever know. The whole saga, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then the Monday deadline right up till 7 p.m. And it must have been a nightmare for him going up and down the M6. 1 minute he's a Preston player, and then he's back to being a Pompey player. And he says, and you believe him, that he plays his heart out, whatever shirt he's wearing. And as memories of him begin to recede, one of the last memories that will go, I hope, is how much he tried for us. And, that multi-goal game. What a memory that is. So good luck to you, family man, Callum Lang, but don't do it against us. Thank you.